Late spring in cooler climes, well, it can be a bit subdued, and it's because that vibrant burst of colour in early spring has finished and the summer flowering has not yet started. But of course, there are some decorative shrubs that will give colour in late spring. Let's take a look at a couple. First off, there's the Californian lilac. It's a lovely evergreen shrub and it has many cultivars with colours that range from mauve to blue. Take a close look at that inflorescence. They're quite intricate and have an iridescent quality. The shiny dark green leaves form on lovely arching branches that create dense spreading mounds. It grows to about 1.5 metres high and about 3 metres wide. And it's the kind of shrub that is really tough. It doesn't need a lot of water once it's established, and all you need to do is give it a light prune once the flowers are finished. Don't go too hard. This is a real garden stalwart, Grevillea Peaches Cream. It's so reliable, it'll flower from spring right through to autumn, and it's a favourite for nectar-eating birds. They usually grow about 1.5 metres high, but as you can see, this one's easily topped it. You can prune them when they're finished flowering to keep them more compact, and they make a really good screen plant. Isn't this coral aloe really setting the world on fire? It's a great contrast to all the other greens in the garden bed. It will still flower in part shade. In fact, less sun makes it more intensely red. Coral aloe needs very little water. The same goes for this one, Phlomis fruticosa, or Jerusalem sage. It became quite popular during the drought, and you can see why. The flowers are whorls of yellow around the stems that complement the textured grey-green leaves. It grows to about 1 metre high, and if you cut those flowers when they're finished, you could easily get a second flush, and the bees just love this plant. You can grow it quite easily from cuttings too. Here's a late spring overstatement if ever there was one. It's called mist flower or Bartlettina, and I really like it because these purple sprays of flowers, the clusters can be 30 centimetres wide, and it's a real showstopper. The tufted fine petals create bright fuzzy pom-poms. It does have a light lilac kind of fragrance, very nice indeed. And when it's not in flower, the large leaves and dark stems are a lovely feature. It's a fast-growing perennial that can reach over 2 metres tall, but you can prune it to size, and it prefers dappled shade, so it's very useful to fill space under trees. The mark of a good garden is to have colour and interest all year. And with these late spring flowering plants, that can happen in your garden.